Hey, what is up guys, I'm Exteria, and in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you about everything you need to know of the Synergy Exotech. This video is going to be a lot different from my other types of content where I tell you how to play a certain comp. In this video, we're going to be talking about what each unit does and what each item does for Exotech. If you guys don't already know what Exotech is, it's a synergy where if you place down 3 units or more, you're able to get one of these items down here, and the stats you get for each of the Exotech units is health and attack speed. As you see in this clip here, I placed down a Varus and we're able to get one of the items here, which is the Pulse Stabilizer. So when you throw out an Exotech unit, you get an item that's specifically from Exotech. The units that make up Exotech is 1 cost Jax, 2 cost Naafiri, 2 cost Jhin, 3 cost Mordekaizer, 3 cost Varus, 4 cost Zeri, and 4 cost Sejuani. As you may notice, the only thing that synergizes with one another is just Sejuani being a Bastion and Jax also being a Bastion. The rest of the units do not synergize besides Exotech. Starting off of our 1 cost unit, we're going to be talking about is Jax, and how his ability works is he uses his E ability from League of Legends, and he's able to stun multiple units after it pops. As that ability is also active, he also gains a shield. The items you kind of want to use on him is any tank items such as Warmongs, Redemption, or Gargoyles. Because he does magic damage, potentially Crown Guard's pretty good as well. And his other synergy is Bastion, where he gives him armor and magic resist. Next up, we got is our 2 cost unit, which is Naafiri. And what Naafiri does is, since she's a close range unit, she passively gains Omni Vamp. She charges her enemies with a bunch of dogs around her. Since she's an amp unit, she can summon more dogs with the more amps on the board, and she'll do extra damage with those dogs. The items you want to put on her is basically bruiser frontline items such as Bloodthirster, Titans, and Sterax. These aren't her best in slot, it's just an example. And like I said earlier, with amp, depending on the unit, they gain extra stats towards something in their ability. So for Naafiri's case, it's just extra dogs for extra damage. Our other 2 cost unit we got is Jhin, and his ability is his Q ability from League of Legends, where he's able to bounce a grenade. But the difference between this one and TFT's version is in TFT is able to bounce back to the initial target that he casted on. The items that you want to build on him is to have a Spear of Shojin, because he's more of a caster, not really an auto attacker, and anything that can amplify his damage on his ability, such as Guardbreaker or IE. His other synergies is Dynamo, and this synergy gives him more mana back because his mana pool is very big, since it's like around 100. And his other synergy is also Marksman, where he's able to gain more attack damage over time. Next up is our 3 cost unit, which is Mordekaizer. And what Mordekaizer's ability is, like from League of Legends, he's able to slam his Q down, and on top of that, he uses his W to gain a shield. But as he slams these units, it also stuns them, so he can stun multiple targets. So therefore, he's a pretty good warden like in TFT and in League of Legends. So the items you kind of want to build around him is either full tank, or you could build AP bruiser items such as Crown Guard, Onyx Spark, maybe Warmongs, or Sunfire or something. Either one is fine. And his synergies is a bruiser, where you just basically get more health since it's just a tank synergy. And his other synergy is Techie, which is like sorcerers of this set, where you gain a lot of ability power to do lots of AP damage. Our other 3 cost unit we got is Varus, and what his ability does is basically like from League, he throws out his ulti, but the difference is between League's and TFT version is in TFT, it just pops and stuns units right away. So basically he stuns multiple units at the exact same time. Compared to League, it just goes one at a time, and it does magic damage. The items you want to build on him is like a Spear of Shojin, and if you have Executioner active, you want a Guardbreaker. If not, then you can play Jewel Gauntlet and some sort of AP item like Death Cap. Like I said the name earlier, Executioner, what this does is you gain crit, and this also allows your ability to crit as well. So essentially, it's basically Ambusher from last set. Next up we got is our 4 cost unit, which is Zeri, and her ability is very unique to TFT. This doesn't exist in League. So what her ability does is she's able to summon clones of herself that helps her attack the target that she's already targeting. So essentially, this means that she's just an attack speed champion. So for her items, the best thing you can build is a Winzu's Rage Blade, an IE, and a Gunblade to heal the board. Lastly, we're finally going to talk about our other 4 cost unit, which is Sejuani. Probably one of the best tanks in the game currently. And her ability is like League's, where she throws her ulti to stun a unit, but in TFT's version, it stuns multiple units. And her passive with the ulti also allows her to gain more armor and magic resist from all sources. The best items you can put on her is any tank item that gives her like health, armor, and magic resist. Her other synergy is a Bastion, which basically just gives her more armor and magic resist. Now, since we covered all the units, let's talk about what each Exotech item does. And to make it a little bit easy to understand is I classified them of what each item does. So for these 3 items, they're tank class, these 2 are AD ranged class, this item is an AD melee class, and this item is an AP class. Moving on to our first tank item we're going to be talking about here, which is Corrupted Chassis. This item gives you health stats, and what this item does exactly is all shields are amplified by a certain amount of percentage. So that means anyone that has ability that has a shield, or if the item has a shield, is amplified. And for a certain amount of time, it takes some of the owner's health and it converts it into a shield. And the best units to fit with this item would be Jax, Mordekaizer, and Sejuani. And the items you want to use with this item would be Crown Guard or Protector's Vow, because it increases the shield of it. And since we're using shields a lot here, having Unending Despair makes it to where if the shield pops, this item will do damage to units around them. Our other tank item we got here is Cybercoil, and this item stats give you armor and magic resist. What this item does is, if you attack them with abilities or auto attacks, you mark the enemy for a certain amount of time, and you heal a certain amount of percentage back the amount of damage they've been dealt. So this means that the person, whoever is holding this item, gets a lot of health back if you do a lot of damage to the unit that they're attacking. And the units that fit really well with them is the same thing, the 3 tanks such as Jax, Mordekaizer, and Sejuani. And this item could probably work on Naafiri because it's technically a lifesteal item. So I guess it's like a Titan substitute. But don't take my word for it. I'm just saying it might work. I have no idea. It's just a guess. Now to our final tank item, which is probably like the best one, is Repulsor Lantern. This item gives you health stats, and what this does is it gives you more health. So basically, the more health you build, the more health you're going to get out of this item as well. And for every certain amount of time, you do like an AoE blast that does damage around you. So technically it's a Thornmail, but without getting hit, you just wait a certain amount of time to do that AoE blast. The best units to put on them is the same 3 tanks again, like Jax, Mordekaizer, and Sejuani. And the best items to put on them would be any of the health items such as Warbong, Sunfire, Redemption, and our artifact items such as Anima Visage or even Innervating Locket. Now to the range AD items we got is Flux Capacitor. This item gives you damage stat and attack speed stats. And what this item does is basically the more you attack, the more charges you get, and it consumes a charge and you do a certain amount of health percent damage to that target that you're hitting. On top of that, you're also reducing their armor by a certain amount. The best unit to use would be any attack speed unit such as like Zeri, and the best items to make this item more efficient would be Guinsoo's Rageblade. Our other ranged AD item is Pulse Stabilizer, and this item gives stats of AD and critical chance. What this item is essentially Collector and Infinity Edge together. So this means that if there are a certain threshold of HP, you just execute them. And if your ability can already critically strike, this item allows that unit to have 10% more critical strike damage. So the best units to hold this item would be either Zeri or even Jhin, since they're both like high damage units. And the best item to amplify this item would be an Infinity Edge. Or for Zeri's case, it's an Infinity Edge substitute. Next up, we got our melee AD item is Hyper Fangs. This item gives Omnivamp, attack damage, and ability power. What this item does is essentially it's like a ZLT from League of Legends, where if you hit them after a certain amount of time, 25% of that damage is popped. So essentially, it's a pretty good assassin item. And the units to best hold this item would be a Naafiri. An item that, if you want to amplify this Hyper Fangs item, would be to have a Titan's Resolve. Another highlight unit you can probably use this item on would be maybe Jhin, since he's also a burst champion. This item can probably help him like one-shot potential units. Lastly, we're going to talk about our AP item, which is Holobow. And the stats that this item gives is mana, attack speed, and ability power. This item essentially is like a worser version of Spirit Shojin and another version of Jewel Gauntlet. What I mean by a worser version of Shojin is basically you gain mana back if you critically strike. So you have to crit on the auto attack to gain the mana back. And after you cast an ability, you gain 40% more critical strike chance for about a certain amount of time. So this item is specifically made for Varus because he's an AP unit. He's also Executioner, which gives you crit, and it gives him some attack speed so it can help him cast even faster. So basically traits like Executioner will help improve this item, and on top of that, even Jewel Gauntlet will make it even stronger. But for Varus' case, you don't really need Jewel Gauntlet. Unless you don't have Executioner, then Jewel Gauntlet is fine. And that is it for everything you need to know about Exotech. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer to the best of my capabilities. Or if you just want to say which one's your favorite Exotech item, feel free to do so. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.